a pleasure to welcome you this morning. I'm State Senator Joe Markley from Southington, representing the 16th District. And I just came here this is an issue that has been of importance to me throughout my career in the legislature. And I think I have become increasingly aware of the difficulties and the dangers that are presented by the notion of assisted suicide. Something that would affect people at a very vulnerable moment, and that I think the government would be wise not to move on. And it's something that, of course, here legislatively has been rejected repeatedly, and it's been a surprise and disappointment here in this short session with so many other things pressing on us that we've had to take the issue on again. But the person who really brought this to my attention, and I can say honestly, the person I know who I most admire in the world, is here to my left, Kathy Ludlow. Just a tenacious fighter, a brilliant woman, and testimony to what people can accomplish, and testimony to why life has to be respected and nourished and given every opportunity to thrive and accomplish what it can.
As Kathy said, I'm Dr. T. Brian Collister. I'm a medical professor at the University of Nevada School of Medicine in Reno, and I'm the governor-elect of Nevada for the American College of Physicians. The reason I'm here goes back to a little thing that happened to me a little over a year ago. I was working with my residents and students in the hospital in Reno, and about a month apart, I had two different cases. One person who needed a life-saving treatment in Oregon, and about a month apart from that, somebody who needed a life-saving treatment in California. In both cases, I was looking to transfer each of those patients to those states for a life-saving procedure. This was not palliative care, it wasn't hospice. These procedures and these two individuals would have been curative 50 to 70% of the time. As is typically the case, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with, I had to have a little conversation with the insurance medical directors to get these transfers approved and the procedures set up. In both cases, the insurance medical director said to me, Brian, you know, we're not going to cover that procedure, we're not going to cover the transfer, but by the way, have you talked to them about assisted suicide? I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I think I came up with something lame along the lines of, it's not legal in our state, and it wasn't in Nevada at that time, and it's still not, thank goodness. And they said, well, it's legal here. And of course, if you talk to the proponents of this bill, they'll tell you there's no cause and effect there, that they deny treatments all the time. Well, I'll tell you, these weren't experimental treatments. This was a standard procedure in both of these cases. The situation that arises with regard to unintended consequences is dire. And this is something you need to take very, very seriously. This is becoming a routine ploy in order to reduce the cost of care. Quite simply, in Oregon, over the past 20 years of data, the typical prescription for physician-assisted suicide consists of 90 capsules of Seconal. Can you imagine trying to swallow 90 capsules? This is not a benign procedure. And yet, Stephanie Packer in California, through her health system, was denied treatment for her scleroderma, but offered those pills with a $1.20 copay, by the way. We hear the libertarian side of things and the ACLU talk about choice, and that assisted suicide expands choice. I beg to differ. I'll tell you that it contracts and limits your choices. When insurance companies and payers start denying care because it's the cheapest thing to do, and you bet they will, what happens then? And where do we start making that logical leap? And you'll hear a lot more about this today, that logical leap from people requesting assisted suicide to it being forced on us. If you look at the way these laws are written, it says 6 months to live. Well, you know what? A terminal disease, as physicians, when we give a diagnosis of a terminal disease, we're very, very bad at predicting how long you have. Our average error, if you look at the literature, is somewhere around 70%. So you might have 2 months or 6 months or 3 years. And in fact, of the people in Oregon in 2017 and 2016, of those that received the prescription for assisted suicide who did not take the pills, only 40% died within a year. Only 40%. So we don't know how long you've got, potentially with a lot of good quality time. And we hear about the pain drum, and believe me, I feel so bad for people who have horrible, uncontrolled pain. And you're going to hear that over and over from the proponents. But I'll tell you, in this day and age, we need funding, we need more education in palliative care, in those types of comfortable, symptom-relieving care and treatment options, not in just killing you. The economics is profound. The proponent nationally for assisted suicide, they call themselves Compassion and Choices. It's kind of an oxymoron. That group started out being called the Hemlock Society. Well, it's probably a good thing they changed the name because hemlock's a poison the last time I checked. And the founder of that group, Derek Humphrey, founded the Hemlock Society in 1998, wrote in his book that he co-wrote with Mary Clement, Freedom to Die, and I quote, "In the final analysis, economics, not the quest for broadened individual liberties or increased autonomy, will drive assisted suicide to the plateau of acceptable practice." Now back to the symptom control briefly, because I'm a practicing physician. It's something I deal with every day. You will hear people come up and give you heart-wrenching stories about a relative who had this terrible pain at the end of life. You know, in this day and age, we can control your pain and symptoms at the very end. We're very good at it. And quite frankly, I would tell you that if your pain is uncontrolled, you may want to change doctors. You may want a different doctor. And in fact, the statistics bear this out. In 20 years of Oregon data, pain does not even make the top 5 of the reasons why people do assisted suicide. It's not even in the top 5. They only give 7 choices in the demographics they collect of people who do this. Pain came in 6th out of 7, with financial constraints being the 7th. What were the top reasons people do assisted suicide? Loss of enjoyment in usual activities, loss of autonomy. 55% listed burden to family and friends. Now these are serious issues. These are serious social issues. But last time I checked, they probably weren't great issues or great reasons to kill yourself. You know, the American College of Physicians came out last fall reiterating their white paper, strongly opposing physician-assisted suicide. And whether you call it aid in dying or death with dignity, those are such nice little kind of sweet covers for the reality. It's still assisted suicide. The American Medical Association said doctor-assisted suicide is fundamentally incompatible with the physician's role as a healer, would be difficult or impossible to control, and would pose serious societal risks. And I'll tell you, this is not about aiding a patient in dying or the right to die. It's about giving physicians permission to kill. And I, for one, would rather not have that. Thank you.